First of all, I just want to acknowledge Chief Scott Martin here, and the council members that are here. Dixie's here, but they were supposed to be here. We invited others, but Kathy didn't feel too well. She went for her chemo today, I guess. George had watching his son. He doesn't feel good. And Papa was going to supper. I think his nephew or somebody had a birthday.
Your son.
Son? Okay, son. And she was supposed to be here, but she had a meeting somewhere down. She said she'd rather make it. What this meeting is about is basically an informational meeting and also a follow-up, a short follow-up on Russell Daibo, which I want to also commend Chief and Council for doing that presentation when he came here, because I watched that presentation through Zoom, and what he was talking about what the Trudeau government wants to do, and basically that's been going on for 30 years now. I've been hearing that, and I'm sure you have too in your political lifetime. What basically Trudeau started back in 1969 or whatever it was, and they call it the white paper. And in a nutshell, it's just transferring, everything to First Nation communities. They call it self-government. But along with that goes taxation. Goes with it. It's a package. It's comprehensive land claims, taxation, and then they give you the money. It started with the, I think it was the Nishka back in 1993 when they accepted that, the comprehensive land claim. They got all their money, and the government told them, okay, here's your money, here's your self-government money, and when it runs out, don't come back to us, because a deal is a deal. And that's what they said. The government actually said a deal is a deal. Yeah, 20 years later, well, guess what? The money ran out. And then they went back to the government and said, well, we got no more money. He said, well, if you read what we signed, the taxation part of it, you're going to have to start taxing your people. Basically, that's what it comes down to. That's their version of self-government. When I listen to Russ talk about that, the federal government basically dictating to us what self-government should be. What our self-government should be? First of all, Canada or the provinces can't give us self-government. That's a right. That's a creator-given right. That Gespegawagi, meaning creator, given right. We back in 1992 when we hired the law firm Peter Hutchins, and when we did the salmon fishing law and the ranger law, the preamble was that, and it said that it's a Gespegawagi creator given right. Canada has no legal authority whatsoever, and that's based on law. If you go back to before the Indian Act, before colonization, we had our own governing systems. But what they said was, I ordered coffee. So when we created the salmon fishing law at that time, and the ranger law, doses. It was a community and two governing system task force, you would call it, like when that was done. And I have to acknowledge, I'm glad that you're here, Scott, Kevin, and I know, like I said, the others couldn't make it, but this hasn't happened in 32 years that the tribal council has sat with chief and council. You remember back in the 90s, Big C, when we fighting Quebec in 1998, and we were like this. That's why they couldn't penetrate, And this is what this Bruce McIver, constitutional lawyer, says about if we do decide to go work on the Aboriginal title and file it. I'm sure you've seen in the email where he states why we should be filing a statement of claim and how important it is for the two governing systems, the traditional and the LNG, to work together, and the community, the people, because that's where the power is. The power, lies within the people. I don't have the power. I serve the people like it's not the same thing, right? We're there for the people. So if we follow that strategy that was followed 1992 or 93, there's no way that the government, Quebec government, and the federal government can put their wedge in there, because we're all saying the same thing. Right now, this self-government proposal that they're working on, reconciliation doesn't work. What they want to do is unload their responsibility to First Asian communities across the country, and by doing that, then assimilation has been completed. Termination also goes with it, because what they're doing now is they're negotiating with our treaties, peace and friendship treaties, in the self-government policy, where they're only going to be known as mere modern-day treaties, which means it's only an agreement. It doesn't have international status anymore, like our peace and friendship treaties. So when you combine all that, we're on a dangerous path. But I'm glad that we had our meetings before the elections. I'm glad that we had it. We didn't have a lot of meetings, but those meetings that we had, I saw, that the wheel has sort of started being reversed, And you made a commitment, as well as councillors that are supporting you, that you were going to work with not just the tribal council but the people, in terms of protecting our district territories and natural resources. And if we do that together, there's no way that the provincial or the federal governments can manipulate us. I realize that. And sometimes people will say, well, we have MMS that's been doing this for since 2000. I said, yeah, we realize that. But what has been accomplished in terms of, getting our district territory back? I mean, they filed a statement of claim, but they didn't file it in the court. They filed it to Canada and Quebec. Now, if you give your statement of claim to Canada, of course they're going to try to tear poke holes through it and make you jump through hoops and say, they're going to say, well, we'll let you have this, but you can't have that. In their comprehensive land claims policy, there's a clause in there that states that anything that's been licensed to oil, gas, mining, forestry, even recreation camps, we can't claim that. They're protected under that comprehensive. So if you look at the map of what's been licensed in the Gaspé area, it's almost 80%, So that's not what we want to do. What we want to do is what Bruce McIver says in his comments, which were 2020 when I first talked to him. Kathy had asked me, can you get somebody to a constitutional lawyer that could challenge Higgs on those drastic measures? So that's when I first contacted him, because I heard from a councillor in Elsipogtog, well, he filed an Aboriginal title claim for us. Why don't you, the 7th district do the same thing? He said, this way we'll be stronger, And another district, Joyzine, and if all the 7 districts would do that, then for 20 years Canada has been using money, throwing money on the table. Every district, like they're funding secretariats. It's not just MMS. You have APC, KMNKO, and whatever, Union of Nova Scotia Indians. But if that can be sort of reversed, and somehow the band councils in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia can do what we're doing now. And this has happened before, like I said, 1990s, we did it, we joined forces. I think that, whatever we do in deciding to work on an Aboriginal title claim, I think it'll have ripple effects, not just here in this district, but when Scotty and I were talking on the phone, you had mentioned the two other communities that we have here, right? Gespeg and Gespegawagi. I mean, yes, they're communities, but the bottom line is, we were talking in terms of this was a capital. This was the community, the largest community within the district, the whole district. If you look at the history, the historical part, they were like fishing or hunting stations that go there, and some families go there and end up staying there, but they never really got recognized as a land base, having a land base. Gespeg, right?
Well, Gespegawagi has a land base, but Gespeg doesn't.
Recently.
All their community members are considered off-reserve residents. They pay taxes and everything, and we try to help them by getting a land base for them. So it's about, I would say the first time I was chief in 2004 to 2008, we sat down with the community and we told them we'll help you get a land base so you'll be taxed exempt. What's his name, Fred Isaac, even said, I'll personally help you get some land so they could, apply for police and fire, social education, what we have here. But they didn't follow our direction. They wanted to stay, I guess, a municipality, but most of their people are in Montreal.
Outside of
They have a little group of people that stay in Gaspé, but when they do their meetings, they all travel to Montreal and they have a meeting over there with their population.
Yeah.
So, but we made a commitment to work with the tribal council. Thank you for inviting us tonight. And Kevin, I know some councillors were supposed to show up, but we've been meeting all day today from 10 till 4:30, and then some had other commitments, but
Well, we're glad that.
But when I listen to what you're saying, we just came from the APC, and they have their special speakers.
Yeah.
And they keep saying the same thing about our right to be self-government, They can't impose things on us because in time, before the Indian Act came around, First Nations already governed themselves.
Yeah.
We tell the government we weren't just walking around lost in the field. We already had laws and we had all this, so you can't tell us no. But you have to talk to them like that because they think that we're just little Indians and we're all lost in the field.
Yeah.
But we had laws. We had our own way of life. We hunted. We survived.
Yeah.
But they just try to say, okay, we're going to do this for you. We're going to do this. You're going to do it this way. And all the First Nations are saying now, we're going to tell you how we want to have our laws.
Yeah.
I just like to add what Gary was saying about intertwined. We go back to one arrow, you break it.
Mm-hmm.
See, we go back to 7 districts, right? We
Yeah.
maybe got 3-4 arrows in there. We're getting stronger. I think it's good to say right now is that as tribal council, we're going to stop the federal from treating you guys like employees. You know what I mean? You're not employees of the federal or the provincial. You're going to be part of the tribal council with your voice as an elected member. You know what I mean? Because the federal can't be telling you no more. Here, this is yours, take it. Basically they put you up against the wall to say, here, take it. Gary brought up the Niska up in BC. They have multi-billion-dollar land leases, multi-million-dollar houses, in order to get back some of the monies that they blew, and then I don't know what year that was, 90-something. We learned from that.
Yeah. But basically, the reason, and I was talking to Scott through email and phone on this McIver lawyer, constitutional lawyer, And when I first talked to him, and his comments are on page 4, basically, page 3 and 4, I think. And he says how important it is to file an Aboriginal title claim, statement claim in the courts, because as soon as you file that, it happened in Gespegawagi, when they filed it, Canada usually will intervene in the court as an intervener and say, no, you don't have sovereignty, you don't have this, you don't have that. They didn't do that this time, he said. He said for some reason they wanted to negotiate instead. So when the Aboriginal statement of claim was filed through litigation, it went into the court system, it was accepted by the courts, and not long after, Canada says to Gespegawagi, okay, can we sit down and negotiate as equal partners? And this is what Bruce McCarthy is saying, and that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
We're not, you can't give us anything, because this is still unceded territory. Unceded means we never sold it, we never freely gave it, we were never conquered, and Canada knows that. But for 30 years he's been using money, large amounts of money, 200, like in the middle of the floor here. And they got away with it, but now, and like Scotty's saying, you're starting to see these chiefs and councils realize that that's not the way to go, because we're going to go off the cliff, and Trudeau knows that too. Trudeau knows that. So what McIver is saying, if we do that, then it's not just about talking, well, we want to go hunting, we want to take this, we want to go fishing, and we want to go, It's always, we'll allow you to take some, but don't take too much. But the conversation changes when you file that Aboriginal title claim, and basically the legal arguments are all backed up by the 1763 Royal Proclamation. They're backed up by the peace and friendship treaties, and even back to the time when our ancestors were, they were the original governing systems, right? They were sovereign, and that's how we reversed that wheel. And I think having in, that's all right. Having a firm, and he's well known, this McIver, he's right across the country, and he doesn't mince words about Canada's hidden agenda, about trying to use reconciliation as, everything's going to be okay, we're going to treat you nice, we're going to give you everything. No, like Russell Dival was saying in his presentation, it's all assimilation and termination. But the smokescreen is reconciliation. There's no reconciliation. What we want is we want our land back. We don't want to sell an inch of the land back. We talk as equal partners. If we're going to be equal partners, well, that means co-management, co-sharing, royalties, and even past compensation. And that should be our position, right? I mean, you usually go high when you negotiate. You're not going to get everything, but you come to an understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because right now, all the municipalities are benefiting from the royalties
Yes.
coming from our territory.
Exactly.
And we're always saying that, well, come, we're not getting royalties for our people.
Yeah.
The power lines going through, the cable company,
Yeah.
all the other, and the non-natives the Mirrors are benefiting from that.
Yeah.
They're saying, no, we should be getting that too.
Exactly.
Or most of it.
Yeah,
because
it's our
it's our
land.
territory.
It's our land, yeah.
And when we used to negotiate, we used to say, we're not just gonna sit on the sidelines and watch our resources go through the community while everybody else is getting rich.
That was in 1998, we said the same thing. We're gonna block everything, we're gonna choke you, like the old saying goes, you plug the old arsehole, everything goes.
Yeah, civil disobedience, you call that.
Yeah, but, that's what we have to do. But, Bruce also says, because now they're in negotiations, federal government in, Gespegawagi. And when you go into negotiations, like when we did in 92 to 97 with policing, we didn't accept the Quebec Police Act. So Quebec said, well, you don't accept it, we're not giving you the 48% or whatever it was that time. I said, no, we don't care. We don't care about your 48%, but the federal government has to pay 52. And that's how we paid for our policing back then. So push Quebec out of the picture. But I'm just using that as an example that it's not the money. I think now, even then when we were negotiating with Quebec and the federal government paid for all the expenses regarding, if you have to travel, like sometimes they want you to go over there, Ottawa, whatever, Quebec, they'll pay for it. That's when, if it gets out of litigation, and if we do have that lawyer make that presentation, and if, you know, we decide together and the people that, okay, we'll hire that firm to do that, we're the ones that give instructions to the lawyers. Sometimes people think that the lawyers know everything, but they don't know everything. In my experience with lawyers, when they come to the community for the first time, they don't even know what the history of the community is. We're the ones teaching them, not knowing, but they're the ones getting paid.
They're charging us to teach them,
Yeah, exactly.
instead of them paying us teaching them.
Exactly, exactly. So, McIver, the one thing about him is, he's not one of these people that it's my way or no way. He's very open-minded and he understands about sovereignty. When we talk about sovereignty, he understands it. Because he's done talks across the country. Because he has First Peoples, I think you'll see the title somewhere here, and you can actually join his website. And it keeps you abreast of all the cases that his firm has taken, or other cases in regards to you know, our native sovereignty and treaty rights. And I think they have a lawyer, a young woman from Nova Scotia, I think, Marshall is the last name. In his 2000, these are a little mixed up, the emails, you know how emails come, they come. But I think your last name is Marshall. And I had seen that last year when she started working for them. So, you know what, when he comes for that presentation, I think that's the opportunity for us to talk to him also and say, okay, well, this is what we want. Yeah, this is what we want. And I think the two governing systems, along with the people, will carry this sovereignty, because we can't leave it up to whomever. We can't leave it up to any secretariat or any other organization, because we really don't know what's going on. You know, if we want to keep on top of this, it'll be us that'll be doing it. You know, and that's what he's saying. With him, he says it's important. You know, from the two political, traditional, and the back houses and the people to work at this. But that's why, you know, I'm encouraged now more so than I was before the elections. I'll be honest with you, because we couldn't get anywhere with it.
Well, I mean, people want to change.
Yeah.
You know, I've been listening to the tribal council. I hear
Yeah.
both sides. You know, I know you need help. I'm a good friend of Mike, and I always talk to him about the tribal council. And
Yeah.
I talked to Gary. I said, you know, council member and long-time friend too. And I said, now we have an opportunity to go forward with some of the files that we tried to, you know,
Yeah.
push when you were
Yeah.
still in council.
Yeah.
I was the one that even told Kathy and them at that time we should be fighting Higgs because of the fact that they're stopping us from going to our traditional territory.
Exactly.
And then, you know, I'm gonna meet with the mayor tomorrow and a councillor, not tomorrow, but they invited me to meet with them. They wanna, you know, rekindle the friendship. And when I talked to some of the store owners, they were saying, next time Higgs closed the bridge, we're gonna have a class action suit. And I
Yeah.
said, I already told them that
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, because they lost big money, like Central Garage. I talked to the guy, he said millions and millions of dollars that he lost because nobody could cross the bridge.
I can imagine.
And I told him, I said, I already made that approach. I told chief and council at the time, because I was just a council member, get everybody involved, get the tribal council involved, get the mayors in Hamilton, the mayor from Point de la Croix, and, you know, go after Higgs saying you're interfering with our own
Yeah.
people going
Yeah.
to their own territory.
Yeah.
You know, this is unceded territory. You have Mi'kmaq flags all over Hamilton, at the city hall, at the park, all over, so
We
they
have
know.
one in Hoboken,
Yeah, you have one?
yeah, it's flying in the police station and, yeah.
There you go, and when you drive down, you know, it's a 7th district.
Yeah.
You know, we will have support from the 7th district all the way to Nova Scotia. That would make it even stronger because
Yeah, exactly.
you're sending a message saying this was an unceded territory that goes from Gaspé to Cape Breton.
Exactly. And the fire has to start somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for us, we've been in existence for 32 years now. And we've been challenged in the courts, the Quebec Superior Court, about our legitimacy as being the 7th District Tribal Council. And the judge at that time, it was Dean Vicaire that basically challenged that there was no such thing as a 7th District Tribal Council. It's a made up. But history records it all. And the judge said just because the Europeans sailed along the shores didn't mean that they conquered your land and they erased your governing systems. And he told the lawyer, no, that's not. That's a frivolous argument that you're making. The other time was in 1997, Supreme Court of Canada. Bruce Clark. We had Bruce Clark here, the bald-headed constitutional lawyer. Yeah. So we ended up in the Supreme Court also, and at that time, Jean-Guy Whiteduck, whom you know, the previous former chief of Maniwaki, I think, his son. Yeah, and believe it or not, Douglas Martin said the same thing. We intervened in the Quebec separation case, and for some reason they should have joined us, being the original ancestral governing district system. More so with Douglas, but John Gee is another nation.
Yeah.
But instead, Douglas hired lawyers to say the title of district chief doesn't exist. Gary Metallic acts like a 4-star general. I said, I'm not a general. Anyway, he said, that's just a made up, he said, the real governing systems are the Indian Act Band Council system. And Indian Affairs, the registrar of Indian Affairs, wrote out an affidavit of all Indian Act band councils throughout the 7 districts. And he said, these are the only recognized Indian tribes in Canada. This is Indian Affairs, siding with their lawyer. But you know what? The same thing happened there. The Supreme Court judges unanimously said no. He said that was already determined in 1992 and 93 in Delgamuukw, where hereditary chiefs in BC, all of them were part of an intervention in the court case over there. That claim, he said, they said the same thing. It still exists. It was just overshadowed, and so we have the credibility because we've been in the courts. I mean, that's the highest you can go. And the other thing, recognition was when we stopped litigation on Bastille, we had to sign off because we initiated that Bastille land challenge. We wrote out that permit to Donnie Germain that time, and the band was working on the sewer projects that time. We needed sand. So we wrote the permit. I still have that permit, telling them you could take land from there. It's still, that was land stolen from Bastille and so forth. And if he shows up, show him and he showed up. He showed him the permit. And then he had an SQ with him. And then the SQ said to Billy Bastille, can I see your deed? He said, I ain't showing you nothing. I'm only going to show it to my lawyer in court. The SQ said, well, I got nothing I can do. He left. So anyway, but before litigation could be stopped, we had to sign off as tribal council members, the original members of the tribal council back then. And Indian Affairs lawyer, top lawyer that was negotiating with Allison and them that time, on the Bastille, said that, well, Chief Metallic can sign off on your behalf. Chief Allison Metallic does not represent in any way, shape, or form this governing system. And I said, you go back and tell them, no, we're not signing. He goes back, and he was coming to a heated debate. Finally, the chief lawyer for Indian Affairs conceded. He said, okay. He said, we've never done this. They never recognized like a traditional tribal council signing a legal document, to which I have, and Franklin told me at the time, don't ever lose this. Said, because if we do decide to go ahead with this, and if they try to question our alliance by saying, well, you know, they're not illegitimate, well, I have the documents. So they can't penetrate.
Divide and conquer,
Yeah, exactly, that's what,
the government's favorite,
oh, wait,
MO.
yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that, you know, we had a changeover where, you know, I don't know all the councillors, but I know that most of the council members, majority understand what we're talking about.
For sure.
Yeah. So with that, what's gonna happen is, I told the lawyer, that Scott, you and Scott will, communicate as far as, of course, you know, there's gonna be expenses, him coming down and, making his presentation and so forth, in April. And I guess that'll be,
Yeah, it'll be later end of April, cause I'm booked right the first 3 weeks of April. for
yeah,
sure.
well, I think he's flexible on that,
So,
but, the sooner that you can, you know, nail down a date that's appropriate for you and him.
Sure.
And, anyways, he said, yeah, well, you know, he was happy about it, and, so now you have his email and the phone number, you have his phone number there?
I'll get in contact with him and we'll have a
Yeah.
presentation to the community.
Yeah,
And
the whole
that's-
community,
That's why when we brought in Russ Dybel,
yeah,
we wanted to make sure everybody knew the dangers of the land code.
yeah,
Because, you know, Indian Affairs is saying one thing, then you need somebody to say the opposite, so people
Yeah.
can decide on themselves after they listen to two sides of a story.
yeah,
Because, you know, if you listen to only one person, you're gonna say, well, that guy knows what he's talking about, blah, 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 there's no danger, and then
yeah,
you sign something later and say, well, how come nobody told us the dangers of
yeah,
accepting the land code? And that's
Yeah.
why we brought him in to give council a briefing on, you know, these are some of the dangers that
yeah,
will happen if you go into the land code without taking the time to,
yeah,
you know, negotiate it or take the things out that you don't want.
yeah,
As Indian
Tomorrow was,
Affairs.
Part two,
Pardon me?
tomorrow was part two.
Part two of,
You'd send her.
Land,
Land,
code.
yeah.
yeah, well, that's just, she was supposed to come first,
Yeah.
but due to the bad weather, she said I can't make it. So Russ was still coming down, so he said, well, we put the, you know, the pros and cons, we brought him first, and then now the lady from Indian Affairs is gonna show up and make her presentation, so you'll know what she's talking about, and then you can judge, say, well, Russ said the opposite, or he said some of these things that I have to look out for.
yeah. Oh, well, I already know what she's going to say,
Yeah, well, she,
basically, I think you do too.
yeah, well, I mean, that's why I said
but,
it's better
you know,
to
it's
bring it to the
better-
community, so people could say, well, you
Yeah.
know, this is what she said, and this is what he said, and now you will decide by yourself.
Did you guys already discuss what was said at mine at the CHRQ? I can't remember.
Oh, Russ?
Yeah,
Russ.
Did you already discuss that?
We had a meeting with him first at the band, all the
No, I
council.
mean like here. too.
Oh, no,
Oh, no, no.
Okay,
He was already at the,
I know, but,
no, we
Oh,
never
you
talked,
weren't-
we
you
never,
weren't there?
we just started the opening
okay.
remarks, and,
Yeah, well, this is a follow-up, and I had when I started my opening remarks. It was a follow-up to that Russ Dybel, but it also links in to this Bruce McIver, lawyer, constitutional lawyer that did the Elsipogtog Aboriginal title, because, you know, we're gonna use the Aboriginal statement of claim to put that fire up with Indian Affairs, you know, what Scott was just talking about. Because what they're saying, basically, they're just pushing the agenda that Trudeau started back in 1969. And every prime minister since Trudeau has been doing that. Harper was the worst, because he lowered the threshold. Let's say if land was to be mortgaged, and there has to be a vote, but I think it's 25% now. It's not, no longer 52. See,
25
those are
plus
the,
one.
huh?
25 plus one.
Yeah, so those are the things that majority of people don't understand. When you lower that threshold, that means, and he said it himself, it makes it easier to make these agreements, you know, agreed to and signed. But that's not our way. Our way has always been either consensus, full, but you never get full consensus. But if you get, whatever, 75% or, yeah, that's our way. But, the only thing, I just wanna mention before we, move on to, you can say whatever you want, I just wanna ask Scott, you know, that was good to have Divo come here, Russ Divo, because I think it, a lot of people were awakened by what they heard, and they want to hear more. I know the elders, were asking for this meeting for that reason too, you know, and that's basically what the agenda is, Canada's agenda. But, I wanna commend also your sister, you know, she did a good job in coordinating, planning. And I was gonna ask you, cause you're gonna be busy from here to, God knows when. If you would also put her, assign her to this, you know, to,
Sure. Well, depending on her health, I have no problem.
yeah, well, I talked to her, today, this morning? No, last night, and she's all gung-ho about, he said, yes, so he said, that's the most critical file issue that we have. I said, yeah, well, you know, you're the first one that came to mind because she does have that, ability and she's got the connections. And
So it's been here a long time ago.
oh, yeah.
But they blocked her.
I know, I know,
Yeah.
Russ told me, cause I know him from, back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm not surprised, I wasn't expecting any day now. The closer the date came.
No, I'll, tell her that, you know,
Alright.
I'll tell her to be the contact person to set up the meeting and the presentation
Yeah.
and all that, and then
Yeah.
we'll talk with MacGyver in between.
Yeah, but, the initial, I'm not saying that it should be you, that, you know, you're the chief, so that's out of respect, I told him that and, you know, you and him.
But when I do talk to him, I'll tell him that he might get a call from Counselor Cathy, and
Yeah.
don't, you know, don't be shy to talk to her, because
Exactly.
she's gonna
Yeah,
make.
he's got the
the-
authority.
Yeah, she has the authority, and
What did you want to say, Brett?
It's, I've just mentioned that 25% plus one, when they put out the paper for the land court in the community, if they can't achieve that 25% plus one, they can drop it down to 10%. So it's just for people to be aware of what's going on. So if they can't reach the 25% threshold, like I said, they can drop it down to 10%. And that would be really devastating because there's so many people that are not really aware of what's going on. There's just, if there's money involved or anything else involved, they're just ready to grab it. And that's the danger part of it.
Yeah, but we already reached that 10% because our band made that list. So who were those people
No, I'm just
that
talking
were
about,
able to sign off?
I'm just talking about what they brought out with that land code thing. I know
Yeah, I
a
know,
lot
but
of
I'm
people
just
didn't
saying
read it, but
If they drop it to this 10%, I mean, they already have your 10% of people to,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. It would be the same thing like when we were set up with that Zenabus thing.
They
You know?
have their people already,
Yeah, they
their
have,
committee
that's right.
stacked. So it's like,
Then that's where the danger comes in. So you have to really educate the people about stuff that goes on. And that's pretty hard to do because people don't seem to care about what's going on. Like we were saying before, you have to educate the community on certain things. And it's hard to do, even if you put stuff in the mail, even if you put it in the mailbox, or even if you deliver it to the house, a lot of it ends up in the recycle bin or in the garbage can. People just, you have to physically get in touch with the people. And you practically have to go door to door to let people know what's going on. And that's pretty hard to do.
People are reactive instead of, preventative. That's the problem.
It seems like the people have lost interest in what goes on in the community. And you can't really blame them because the way certain things were being handled, you know, people get discouraged and say, if I do this anyway, nothing's gonna happen anyway, so.
Yeah.
After a while, people just shy away from it and say, the hell with it, you know?
hopefully that'll change, you know, and like I said, I think we see change now as it is, like sitting here, like 32 years ago was the last time that we.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
if we start, even just a few people start working together, maybe we can grow in numbers.
Mhm.
But you have to be active with active members too, so you can't just sit back and let a few people do things, you know, you gotta encourage people to join.
Ain't no door prizes here.
You don't $50 bills.
No, gift card, Tim Hortons.
So, if that's it for that item on the agenda in regards to, Bruce McIver, you know, coming here in April sometime, whatever the date is.
He was just in Moncton, eh?
Yeah, he's all over,
Yeah, just
yeah.
last week, he was in Moncton
Yeah.
or Fredericton.
yeah. I want to move on to 4 and basically an update. I know Scott has some information on it, and I've been, Frank and I, talking to Pascal Mayor in regards to the exchange of church property that they supposedly Cross Point owns, the powwow grounds, and LNG owns land on their side, Cross Point and Cross Point. So anyway, the last time I talked to him, remember when we talked and you were saying that you were going to have an assessment done, which is right, you know?
That's all we're doing right now, we're getting a assessment on the property.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's, you know, we're not trading good land for bad land.
Yeah,
You know, we don't wanna get swamp land and give away good property to them, and then we're just sitting there with the same problem that they have down with flood situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Pop had the map, we just talked about that this afternoon, cause
okay,
we said we were gonna set up a meeting with the mayor and he wants to come and see council, like his council and our council sit down and talk about the land that they wanna exchange, the land behind Norma Jean's house compared to the land where they wanna change next to the church, so.
yeah,
And as far as the church, I'm supposed to meet with the bishop. He's been trying to give the land back to the community, but he says if you build a church and he wanted to give the band the whole church, but he wants us to cover the cost. And told him we can't afford to cover the cost of the church because it's $120,000 that was 5 years ago, what's it gonna cost now? So, but we'll still maintain, like clean the driveway, you know, beautification, could, you know, take care of the graveyard and all that, but
yeah,
we're not gonna, you know, start paying salaries and
Yeah.
electric and the upkeep.
well, that's always been the diocese, that's always been the diocese that did that, right?
Yeah, well, there was certain things like when there was for people to go into the graveyard, you had to pay like a certain amount for upkeep of the graveyard and stuff like that. But other communities, it's really, really expensive. Here, it's what, $50 for a lot? For a graveyard lot? $50 don't cover much, so.
Yeah, but I think what Scott's saying, the beautification part and
Yeah, they
everything.
take care of it. They, you know, they're gonna still do it, they're gonna take care of the graveyard to make it, you know, it's respectable for the people that have passed away.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna meet with them, I haven't set a date because they were waiting for one of the priests to, come back, and then we're gonna sit down and talk to them to build the church. It's not gonna be a big church,
No.
just big enough size so people
About
are.
hold about 200 people at
Yeah,
most. For
about-
like holidays, that's when you see a lot of people.
Yeah,
Other than that, 50,
Yeah.
60 people, maybe the most on Sunday.
so,
So you don't need a real big church.
no, and then like I said, Bassam.
And the money's there, the insurance is there.
We're well aware of it, that's why I have to go meet with them, I already
Yeah.
contacted one, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna call it back tomorrow and say, here's the date that I can, he gave me 4 dates, so I'm gonna go and check my agenda, and if I'm available
yeah,
the closest time, I'm just gonna go down and meet with them.
yeah.
Bassam already has a little, you know, he said he'll make a blueprint
Yeah,
to make sure that the church is gonna fit 200 or 300 people, but it's not gonna be a long church like they had,
No.
you know. Like I told some people, pardon me?
No stained glass.
No, I don't know. It'll probably, I mean, whatever,
I was kidding.
but, they asked me that question about people that are against the church, and I said, look, some people practice religion and some people practice tradition.
To each
So
his
we're
own.
we're not gonna pick and choose. I said, the people that wanna go to church, they can go to church, and the traditional, we're gonna have a healing lodge down at the old Bustee.
Yeah,
They're gonna build a turtle lodge, they're talking about it, but reality is as soon as the money comes, you know, the government's gonna say, yeah, everything sounds good, but like they would say, show us the money. So, this is how I address it to some people. Look, people that wanna practice religion, go to church. Those wanna practice traditional, well, go to the,
It's not
Yeah.
a traditional value to, exclude other people's beliefs.
yeah, exactly.
It's the opposite,
Mhm.
you know? Mi'kmaq people were very inclusive.
Yeah.
And respectful, so.
yeah, that's it, that's the key words right there. I mean,
First place you go to when you're small and the last place you go to is a church. If you're any kind of a person, if you believe in anything, right, this is how we were all raised. I don't know about the rest of you. And the kids are missing out right now with everything, without their catechism, and none of them are making their first communion, which the chief and the council has given us these 2 buildings next door. We're going to have an office there, and we'll use the other 2 little offices, we're not touching them, that we'll be able to teach the kids their, how to prepare for communion and everything like that. I know we won't get everybody, we can't change everybody, but we were all raised to be Catholics. I don't know what happened along the way, but I still believe in that. None of us would be sitting here. Once God looks at you and says, it's your turn to go, that's it. But we were, chief and council were kind enough to tell us that we could have that building, so we'll be able to have a little chapel. It won't be a church, it's going to be a chapel where they won't have to carry all this equipment every Sunday. We see Wayne carrying the organ into the church. They laugh so much. The first time I met the chief and council, I said, and we're tired of seeing Wayne carrying his organ around, you know, he does just coming in with the organ at the radio station. And I should have rephrased the word when I said his organ around, and she started to laugh. And Brenda, if she doesn't have anybody to help her, she's gotta carry all that stuff and carry it back out again. So I said, why not ask? I said, all they can do is refuse us, but they said, no, they'll even help. And we even have some counselors donating money so we could have the place painted. So we're gonna go in and check tomorrow to see how far they've gone. So we're hoping to have it ready by the time the priest comes back. And that's another thing that I would like, Gary, you're always talking about 1776.
mhm.
Someone was telling me that years ago, they made an agreement, I don't know, I never went back that far yet, but they always said that we would have a priest here.
Mhm.
But right now, we're having a hard time to have a priest because, he's got 5 other parishes. It doesn't matter. I've argued with him and told him he could spend at least one day if he has 5 other parishes. We've got Monday to Friday. I said, you could spend one day here. So he told me, he said, well, your Brenda's here. I said, excuse me, Father, Brenda is not a priest. I said, there's times a person wants to go see a priest personally for either to confess or if you have something, that they're there to counsel. This one's gonna shoot me pretty soon. To counsel the people, but this is how we were brought up. And so I would like to, when we do get settled, I would like to have that priest come in at least once a week, and even if it's a half a day, it's not too much to ask for him to come in if anybody wants to see him and any other problem, you know. But Father Carlos doesn't, Dora's looking at me too, but Father Carlos doesn't wanna spend any time here, that's the way I feel. And then if anybody is ready to receive the last communion, well, let Brenda go. Poor Brenda is running her legs off all the time going to give last sacrament, where you and I could give the person, you just pray for them. You know, this is how we were brought up. But he doesn't take time. I don't have nothing against him, but I feel that he should be on call as a priest. So I don't know how anybody else feels that. I believe in telling a person the way I feel in front of them and not going behind their back, so.
What I like.
Anyway, I am looking forward to us having the chapel there and to see how we'll make out. And I'm thankful for the chief and the council for giving us that building.
Yeah.
We know we're hoping to have that church built sooner or later.
That, the history part we talk about, I think it was 1610 that the Micmacs, Nova Scotia especially, chief member to was baptized back then, 1610. And that's when they made that agreement between Rome.
That we'd always have a priest
Always.
Here, yeah.
But eventually in time, it all came to, they would complain, well, the Indians don't pay their fair share. Like, over here, when the church was here, back in the day, the French would pay their, what they call, like a dues every, yeah. And, but we didn't pay, they were complaining about that. It's in the history, historical land claims documents that, but they forget that we supplied all that land and all the way back to Post Point where they had their fields. But then they ended up, when they built the mill, the priests, who had a lot of influence then, built the flat to accommodate the workers that were working in the, they weren't supposed to do that because they didn't really own mission property. It was loaned to them. But they always made it look like we weren't paying anything, we were like freeloaders. So, there's not much, I don't think we can do. It's up to the bishop, because the bishop is the one that delegates, right?
Yeah.
All these priests within their diocese.
But when I do meet with the bishop,
Yeah.
I'll mention your request, saying that, a priest should be here at least one day a week. because of the
Even
fact
a half a day,
Or a half
at
a
least
day.
he could post it somewhere, so if anybody needs any counseling or whatever, should be here for even a half a day. He can have prayer readings in Cross Point and everything. He also goes out to have meals with the Cross Point people, cause I've been out quite a bit and we see him coming in, so why not for us too, That's the way I feel, and I told him too the way I felt, but
So then you cut it down to a couple hours instead of half a day.
So, that's all I have. Whoever wasn't here, Scotty, you came in late, basically just to a short recap. We're gonna be working together on this, as I stated to you in the short email that on this Aboriginal Title Statement of Claim, Bruce McIver, he's willing to come here and do a presentation. Scotty said, he's busy, first few weeks of April, but they're gonna nail down a date between them. Kathy will be the, intermediary. And, like, as I said, I'm encouraged that we're talking about this tonight. For the longest time, as you know, when we revived our tribal system and I was appointed the district chief back then by the sub-chiefs, it's been a struggle. Depends on who was chief, and it's almost like having one arm tied behind your back, but until 92 to 97 wasn't too bad. We had that alliance between the two, LMG and Tribal Council, and at that time it was unanimous, chief and council, even though others were, we didn't see eye to eye, but saw eye to eye when it comes to protecting the territory and the treaties, and I see that here, more so, more so than the last few years, or the last 6 years. I can say that for sure, because, we didn't have any kind of communication. But I'm encouraged, not for myself, but I'm encouraged for the children and the children to come. We have to leave something better for them than what we have now. And that's what our ancestors did throughout the 7 generations. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't even have the land base that we have if it wasn't for them. Or the rights, the treaty rights. A lot of people don't understand when the piece of friendship treaties were signed. They were signed by district chiefs in 50, 52, 60, 61, 1776 and 79. 79 was our treaty, they call it the Westerners Treaty. But they were the district chief. If you look at the signatures of every treaty, it was the district chiefs, because that was the nation system. It wasn't the Grand Council. The Grand Council as we have now is not a nation, is not capable of providing a nation government because they were influenced by the Roman Catholic Church after 1610. And you could see it because the Grand Chief used to wear this ring that I knew. I elected that Grand Chief when I became part of the Grand Council in 1990, I think, 92. And once I knew that it was more like a church function, I said, no, I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to light candles and ring bells. I'm sorry, you know, I'm here to fight for our people's rights and our territories and natural resources. And we used to wear that ring and sit there at Chapel Island, and people would go up as like the Pope and kiss the ring. I never went up and kissed that ring. No way. But times are changing. And, you know, we're the ones that make change, right here. Every generation has that capability of making that change. And our time has come. So with that, I want to thank you, Scott. I know it's been a long day, Kevin. You guys have prior meetings. And like you said before our, before the November elections, Scotty and Kevin was there, Papa and them. You know, they're always there, they're available, whatever you wanna, you know, something that's pressing or, as far as I'm concerned, they're open. Every time I email Scott or call him, he gets back to me on questions that I have. And tonight, you know, he's doing that with our tribal council. Then we can go back and go to our families and say, well, we had this meeting and, you know, this is what is going on.
And I still have that open door policy, so if you wanna come and see me at the band, come on over if you can, and if I have to go to your house.
The updates for the camp.
Oh, yeah.
Update the emails for camp.
No,
We don't take that.
Camp.
No more.
I mean, anybody, if I'm busy, I'll tell them what time to
Yeah,
come.
we lead or no?
Seriously?
Get up,
Yeah.
Well, you know,
see you,
I
huh?
sent them an
Company.
email, this is crazy.
Company, well,
And then I got you guys' support and then I didn't get it. It's crazy. But I got, Gary wrote on behalf of the tribal council. And it went a long way.
Oh, yeah, your case, yeah.
So, thank you again for inviting me, and like I said, if you have more meetings that you want my participation,
Yeah.
then I'm more
Yeah,
than
that'd be nice.
open to come and join you.
Yeah.
I know we're all fighting for the same thing, for our rights and, you know, our resources. And the
Yeah.
government keeps pushing us, so we have to push back, and
Yeah.
if we don't push back, then they're just gonna keep steamrolling us, and then we're gonna end up with nothing, so. It's time that we push back to the government, because Legault thinks that Quebec is
Yeah.
his,
Hmm.
when he's not, he's on our territory.
He needs a good,
He has to be reminded.
He needs to go.
needs to go. Let go, we'll make a logo, t-shirts, Kevin, let go, needs to go.
Yeah.